So much for joining me today, Rachel.
It's a pleasure.
I met Rachel when I was abroad in Israel, and I've had the pleasure of being able to coach her. So I'm so grateful that we're going to be able to hear all about your journey today.
All right. I'll
All
be happy
right.
to.
So why did you decide to get coaching?
I noticed I was in a very stuck place. I was just I didn't know what I wanted to do in life, and I didn't know, I just kept going from place to place, traveling, looking for a meaning. Um, but in the end, I was just very disconnected, and I needed direction, and I wanted to make goals for myself. And I know that
Mhm.
I'm capable of a lot. I wanted to just, explore and learn more about myself to be able to tap into who I am really, because I felt like there was a disconnect, a major
Wow.
disconnect.
So you knew there was this disconnect and you got coaching so that way you would eliminate the disconnect
Right. And
and
the
find
blocks.
yourself. Yeah, beautiful. So had you worked with a coach before, or was this a new experience for you?
Completely new experience.
Wow. So what were you struggling with or feeling frustrated about?
Um, to start with, I felt numb.
Mm-hmm.
I was just sort of doing the daily thing, but I didn't have joy in my daily life. Just I'd get up and go to work. It was fine. I wasn't super depressed or anything. I just felt like there was something really big missing. And I was just, not getting anywhere. I wasn't accomplishing goals. You know, I wasn't working towards anything. Um, and on top of that, I was also just highly anxious all the time. I was too anxious to take out a loan to go to school and just anxious, which is a horrible feeling to be.
Wow. Yeah. So the anxiety was just really stopping you. It was like just a block at that
Yeah.
time.
So when I wasn't anxious, I was feeling numb, and they'd switch off, and so those were my main struggles.
Wow. And how did you switch off between being numb and then feeling anxious?
It just would come in waves. Sometimes I'd feel like, okay, just do the daily thing and we're fine. Just get up and go to work and come home, do the same thing over again the next day. And then just randomly I would just feel like, okay, now what? And then, I want to go to school, I want to do this, I want to do that. But then I just would be flooded with anxiety at some point, like stopping me from doing things.
Right. Wow. That's quite a struggle. So the next question I want to ask is, what were your biggest concerns about working with me?
Yeah. I'd say I have a fear that maybe there's not something that I could figure out about myself, and I would just be stuck in this place forever,
Mm-hmm.
and that would be just such a waste. Um, and it would be really disappointing. It would be a major letdown. Um, Another concern is financial, like a lot of money to even if it's not a lot of money, it's just money you don't know, or I didn't know what it was going to be for and if it was
Yeah.
lead anywhere.
Right. It's very vulnerable. It's scary to dish out a lot of money having no idea what the results are going to be.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And
And
also just to
exactly.
share vulnerabilities, it's not easy to open yourself up.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I could get really anxious talking about things, could be shameful for me. So that was another thing.
Wow. And did you find that to be a concern working with me specifically, or that was just a concern about coaching in general?
In general, coaching.
In general, getting coaching. Yeah. Yeah, I hear that it's very, very scary to express our shame.
Yeah.
It takes lots of courage, and you definitely showed lots of courage being able to go through your struggles and really work through them and connect with them and connect with
Yeah.
yourself. It's a
It's a
beautiful
leap.
thing.
You just
Yeah.
hope that, that the person will be able to to really hold the space while you open up. And yeah, I can say that you did.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh, yeah. It's so important. It's so important. We all really need to be there for each other.
you. Yeah, definitely.
What would you say was the most impactful part of working with me?
um, I would say very much learning from you,
Mhm.
from your confidence and the way you hold yourself. And you know, it's it's really empowering to be working with someone who believes in you. um, it helps, it gives you wings, because at first everybody wants to know that they have something to offer, and everybody wants to know that they have strength. um, but to work with someone who sees it in you and really is invested in helping you to uncover your blocks and helping you to get to where get get to where you want to be, and make goals for yourself, and even help you figure out what it is you want to do. It's extremely empowering. So I have to say that I left um, every session, every time we spoke, feeling so inspired to just get go for my dreams, and not just settle for something like 9 to 5 that that's just going to pay the bills. Something that's going to give me meaning, and something that I have to work for, and something that, even if that feels like a giant risk, it's something that I could go for the things that I want to.
Definitely. Tell me more about, that risk that you're willing to go for now, because I know that you haven't always been so willing to go for a risk.
So I've always been concerned, as far as I really want to be a health and fitness coach. I want to help others, inspire others. I've been on my own journey, and I just there's many uh, doubts that I have in terms of being able to help others, or doubts that I have had. Um, so it would be a risk to go and put myself out there, and try to, I guess, well, first I'd want to get certified, but to be able to go for it. And what if, there's so many what ifs. So, in terms of the money and invest and energy I'd put into it. Um, you know,
Definitely. Hmm. Yeah, 100%. But what I want to know is, before you were very scared and, almost reluctant to go for your dreams, and you saw the risk, and it was all that it was too much of a risk. And now today you're in a place where you see the risk, but you're willing to take it. What changed from being too scared to take the risk to being open to taking the risk and believing in yourself?
um, I think what changed is just learning that, number one, it's not like there are successful people and then there are unsuccessful people. I think working with you helped me to understand that it's all within you. You choose to succeed, and if you choose to succeed, you will succeed. So there's no two ways about it. Um, you know, for me beforehand, I was just like, there's people who are confident and successful. It's just sort of a package, and they're the ones who look good and who speak well, and they're gifted. And then there's those who they settle, and they're not so successful. They just sort of do their thing. And I just sort of expected myself to fall within the latter category of just sort of just doing my thing. I'm like, no, want to get by. But you really inspired me to be like, no, like, you have a lot to offer. You can be one of those people who is successful, and it's what you put into it, and how much you continue to believe in yourself. It's sort of a daily thing. You feed yourself, and you get yourself there, because you know you're the one who is going to nurture yourself and give to yourself and become successful because of that work.
Wow. Yeah, it's so true. Yeah. And you are amazing. It's true.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. So, would you be able to share three tangible results from working with me?
Yeah. So, um, did you want specifically what, which, just any results, or were you saying specifically with work in terms of what I want to do career-wise?
Anything, whatever's most on your heart at the moment, you can share. Whatever you want.
Right. Okay. Um, let's see. So the first, hold on. Um, I just want to pick the best ones because there's so many. I gained a lot, so I want to make sure I'm sharing the right thing. Um, hold on.
If you need to do 4 or 5, that's also okay.
I could just do all of them. Um, okay, so number one, I got myself applied to school. I got myself a plan of action in terms of, career-wise. Instead of it being like, oh, I'll get around to it. I'm going to just go to school one day and I'm going to go for my dreams. I'm put it on my checklist. No, I have like a whole plan mapped out of how I'm going to help myself and how I'm going to, um, just go for my dreams and get the career I want, you know. Um, so that was a big step for me to be able to, money aside, like to understand that it's the investment. It's an investment that's worth it. So I saw that that was a result. Um, Another result is I just I'm not numb anymore. I feel really full of life and full of hope and direction and just this inspiration, this fresh inspiration that every day I'm excited to just be me. Um, and that also helps me not get too anxious, even though if you have anxiety and it's something that you've always had might continue to be there, um, just there's good ways to manage it. And I feel like this was very helpful.
Wow.
Um, and what else? Um, I have just a more positive picture of who I am. Like to work with someone who believes in you helps you to identify your strengths. And so I work off of that and knowing, before it was more of a blur, like, oh, who am I? Now it's like, oh, right, I'm good at this. Solidify that. Like this is my path, and just to sort of, I was able to tap into that and develop my path based off of, learning about myself because it is all about learning about yourself.
Wow. It's so true. And you're so incredible. You've managed to gain so, so much. I'm so impressed with you, Rachel. I
Thank you.
really am.
Not without your help, but I want to thank you.
Oh. Now, when you say that it's all about getting to be in touch with yourself and getting to know yourself, how did that help you reach your goals when you were living in anxiety?
Um, I think that once you're in touch with yourself, number one, you could you could be your own advocate. Basically, you could coach
Yeah.
yourself through it when you know yourself and you know that you're strong enough to coach yourself through anything. Um, and also, when you just have the anxiety without the self confidence, it sort of just consumes you. When there's the self confidence, it's a game changer because once you, like, I know, you know XYZ about myself. So, whether the anxiety is along for the ride or not, I'm going to be going for those, for those things because, I believe that I can.
Right. Wow. So powerful. So, so powerful. All right. So let's break down how you achieved being strong and sturdy in your belief in yourself. What did you do?
To get there,
Yep. How did you get there?
I had a journal, and thanks for encouraging this, to just write, whether I'm writing about um, things that I'm interested in, or writing down compliments I've received, or writing down what makes me happy, they all help me to tap into that. I heard this really incredible line somewhere called, it was, "Let happiness be your compass." So that also
Mhm.
helps along the way. But uh, just a culmination of all of those, all the above.
Wow. Again, I'm always impressed with you. But I've been saying this for a while. It's nothing new. So what was something surprising that you weren't expecting to get out of the experience of working together?
Um, Something surprising. I guess I didn't know how many blocks that I had. I didn't know I had blocks. I didn't know what blocks were. I just thought, there was something that wasn't working for me, and I just felt like disconnected. But I didn't understand what exactly those blocks were and that I had them, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So when people were like,
definitely.
"Oh, that's a block for me," beforehand, if I would have thought of it, I'm like, "That's like kind of a negative thing. I don't have those. I'm fine." But like,
Right. No one has those.
right. But to understand that there's something, sort of a self-sabotage that's stopping you from whatever it is, from from being confident, from feeling okay, from, from trusting. It's a block, and I didn't know that I had them, and I had a lot. So to learn about them, about uncovering them, and I wasn't expecting that.
Wow. How were you able to uncover them? How did you do that?
Well, once you start paying attention, really, once you start paying attention to yourself, that sort of happens naturally, because you know, kind of you encouraged. Um, there's just a lot of self time in terms of exploring anxiety and exploring what it is that I want, and exploring what could it be that's holding me back. Just in that process, it naturally happens that these things get pulled up, and you connect the dots, and patterns are made.
Yeah, definitely. If you had to give somebody advice about how to handle an emotional block you see that they don't see, what would you tell them?
To take a step back, um, and try to look at it, to try to look at themselves as not themselves, to look at themselves, from a different perspective,
Hmm.
and like if they, because they don't see it as a block, but if somebody were to point it out, they could really just take themselves out of their personal situation, try to look at themselves in a different way. That's a little bit vague, but um, they could. How do I describe this? Like, just try to be more objective. I don't know. Like, pretend that you're someone else for 5 minutes.
Okay, pretending to be someone else for 5 minutes so you're able to be objective.
Yeah.
And how exactly would that help the friend who's asking your advice on, how to have a better life when you can see their block?
How, what was that?
How would that help them to be objective? How would it help the friend who needs your advice to have a better life, that clearly has an emotional block. How does being objective and kind of looking at yourself from outside help the friend?
Because the answers are really within you. But when you're in yourself, when you're just, I don't know, you're just in yourself, uh, completely immersed in whatever is your internal world, whatever's happening in there. It's really hard to see the answers. It's really hard to see the next step. And so oftentimes a friend will come to you with a problem, and you'll just like, okay, that's, just do this. And for yourself, it's really complicated. So I've learned to sort of, when I'm going through something and there's turmoil and I'm just like not sure what the next step is, it's so important for me to just meditate on it. I'll sit there on the beach, take an hour, just maybe, we don't all have that kind of time, and I don't always, but when there is time to take it to just, you calm down and you sort of just observe, and that does a lot of good. So observe. Once you observe, the answers just come. Can't explain it. It's so powerful.
Wow. And also, one of the things that's so powerful about observing the emotions you're going through is you have to accept it. You're not
Right.
fighting it. You're watching them go through you. You're accepting it.
Right.
And when you begin to accept it, that's the moment you really get to see what it is that's affecting you, and you can finally be in touch with yourself.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a beautiful process.
Yeah. And it's amazing what'll come to you after that. After you just take a step back and just observe. It's truly amazing to all of a sudden it opens you up to a whole new world of feeling.
Definitely. What would you say is one of the most recent things that you've found yourself open to from being with your emotions?
I've always just struggled with a bunch of fear. So, the last time I was one with myself and I did a meditation. Um, I let myself feel fear. I let myself feel it all. And I remember I started crying because of how scary it was. And I have a hard time crying. I have a hard time releasing. Um, like the tension that's been building that builds up because of it. And I just started crying and I was just like, whoa, never expected that to happen. And just continued to feel it and feel it and feel it. And I just didn't realize that you could sit there, and that's like sort of, it's just an exercise. You could sit there for 20 minutes and just feel it. And it's the, it's the most healing thing in the world because by feeling it, you process it, by
Definitely.
feeling it for a bit and experiencing it. And then you're like, I'm not afraid of this thing. I'm feeling it right now. It's going through me and it's going to pass.
Yeah,
You'll feel it
exactly.
again.
It'll pass. Trusting in the process. That's what
Well,
that's
it's
called.
comfortable. And I'm going to, even as it's uncomfortable, yeah, trusting in the process, even if it's unbelievably painful or whatever it is, you're there and, you acknowledge that it's unbelievably painful and you also accept it. It releases it, even if you have to feel really, really uncomfortable for a while.
Right. Acceptance. That's the key. To feel it and accept it, let it flow through you, and trust in the process. I'm having a hard time hearing you. Let me see if it's a volume thing. Are you on mute by any chance?
Check.
Oh, okay. I can hear you better now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, probably
sorry
'cause
about that.
yeah.
What were you saying?
No, just the more that you do that, the more that you feel what you need to feel, the more you'll be able to process it, the
Yeah,
more you'll feel better and
definitely.
get the good feels.
Yeah, it's a feel good process, though the process may be challenging, you get to the feel good at the end.
Exactly. Yeah.
Definitely. So
Just
what
got to
would you
process.
say? Exactly, just got to go through the process. So what would you say is one of the most recent things that you gained from being in touch with yourself and going through that experience of feeling your emotions and accepting them?
Freedom,
Freedom.
I'd say, because if you can process it and you can know that, it'll come and it'll pass and you're comfortable with the process of feeling it, you might be able to take a bigger risk. And, uh,
Yeah.
so like recently I have taken some risks.
Right. You'll be
And,
able to take a bigger risk.
right. And let's say something that would have been like, I can't do that before, something is scary to me, like let's say applying to school and committing to pay a bunch of money. Now it's just, whatever will come up and I'll deal with it. But I'll deal with it. I'm not going to ignore it, but it doesn't have to stop me from doing what I want to do.
Exactly. You're able to rise strong.
Hmm.
It's incredible. When you're more open to allowing yourself to feel, you're taking a vulnerable risk of possibly falling. However, if you know how to rise, which is exactly what you're talking about, it's not as scary, and then you can take more risks. And the more you're able to risk, and the more you're able to gain.
Right.
And I'm so blessed to be able to have seen you go through this process.
Thank you. I'm blessed to have been able to go through this process.
Aw. All right. So, Rachel, what is next for you? What are you working towards at the moment?
Um, at the moment, it's still a few things. It's still a struggle to go through the process. Now that I've started the process and I've had a lot like success with it, but sometimes you start the process and it becomes even harder just because you have a lot to tackle,
Yeah,
and it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's just it's the more you feel, the how do I say it could I experienced the fear and now I have to experience the next level of fear. So I'm just trying to take that step up to experience it more. Um, and I know once I do, it'll be okay. But right now, it's daunting, and I'm going off of this, the past few months of working through, trying to, um, learning the process. And so now that am comfortable with the process, all I need to do is just take the next step up um, and feel the next bout of fear that I need to experience and accept.
wow. Those are beautiful next steps.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anything in terms of schooling or career-wise that you're doing for your next steps?
Yes, and I'm going to be joining a certification program um, for health coaching and hopefully applying to um, a a master's program for social work. And I want to be able to be an advocate for foster children.
Wow.
And that's also a long buried dream that I didn't think that I could do. There's a lot of negative talk out there about oh, it's not effective. You're not going to be doing anything. And I really, really am motivated now to take that step and to start the process.
That is amazing.
Yeah,
I'm
for me,
so
I'm like, oh,
excited to see how far you're going to go with it and see how you're
yeah,
going to be changing the world, and you're really going to impact so many people's lives.
thank you. Yeah, I hope so. I know so. I started, at some point, I gave myself the message growing up. It was difficult financially. I gave myself the message that school wasn't worth it. That you spend a bunch of money and you just get a job. You just get something that will pay the bills. So what's the point? Um, so this is really giving me a lot of insight into like my passions and to understand that the money, we'll work it out. And this is an investment that's worth it. And people take out loans for school, and people do what they need to do. And it would just, I'm really looking forward to achieving this dream. It's, I know it would be really rewarding.
100%. And I have no doubt that you're just going to knock this one out of the ballpark.
Hope so. No so. Hope so, no so. That's the thing.
Coming to a foster care office near you, Rachel. All right, so I'm going to ask you my last question for today. What would you say to someone considering joining Self Mastery?
Join as soon as you can. You won't lose. You can't lose. Yes, you know, it's an investment, time, energy, money, whatever, but you won't lose. You gain in so many ways. You have self-discovery, any emotional blocks you have that to gain. Just only, like, there's so much you can gain from the program. And so anything that you put into it, you'll get out of it. So it's totally, totally worth it for you. Just consider an investment in your future. And the more that you spend on that self-time now, and the more it'll pay off. So I highly suggest it. And, you know, it's a win-win.
Oh, thank you so much, Rachel. Really appreciate your feedback.
Absolutely.
All right, well, it's been such a pleasure chatting with you.
It has.
And I wish you so, so much luck on your journey, and definitely send me updates. I'm so excited to hear everything and how it goes for you.
All right. Thank you for all of your work.
No problem. Have a great rest of the day, Rachel.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.